you guys could see the amount of books surrounding me right now. It's quite insane. I have them all stacked in this little room, our spare bedroom, until we get my library books. And I could do a book law during the days. I can't tell you how many times I've already filmed this year and I never edited it and put it up, but I'm gonna do it this time. So wrap up of this year, because I haven't done any like book reviews this year really on my channel, and I really want to do them. I really want to talk about some of these books, and then I'll have a separate one for June, July with like a TBR. And I tried digging out all my books. Let's see. Oh no, those aren't it. That I own, but I think I'm missing some of them because they're in these stacks behind me flipped around, and some of them are right here, the ones I need to haul. Anyways, let's get to it. I'm gonna do like, there's 20-ish or so, there's kind of a lot, but I'm gonna try and do them so that we go through them really quickly, and because you just want to know the ones you want to read. At the beginning of Heir, I read 2 books, Alex Approximately, and I'll put the other one on the other side maybe if it fits. When Dimple Met Rishi. Alex Approximately was by Jenn Bennett, and When Dimple Met Rishi was by Menon. And both of these books I did not like, and so I could rush past these, but I'll just tell you why I didn't like them. They were classic, like, modern teen read tales, but for me they had like too likable of characters. Even though like I believe in love and hope and all that jazz, it's just some of the characters were way too accomplished for their age. And I know there's like a rare person who's like accomplished really well in one thing and some other things maybe, but they're never so well-rounded and so good at relationships as well. Like, I never met one of them in high school anyway. So there were way too likable of characters. The characters, like, scenarios and relationships were often, I felt, way too mature for their age. And there were really predictable plots. Like, you knew the guy was going to end up with a girl, and I know that's what you were getting into, but you want to have some sort of suspense, like some sort of, it was like YA romance, but you wanted something to leap off of. So I didn't like either one of these books. I would not recommend them. I would not buy them. I would not pick them up. I think they came out both last summer, and they have very pretty covers. I'll give them that. Very pretty covers. I would read stuff by these authors again. It wasn't that they were bad at storytelling. I think it was just the characterization. It was too much for me. Was by John Green, who is one of the most famous authors. He's not one of my favorites though, actually. But this particular book was my favorite by him, I think. This book was based around anxiety, and if you've gone through or had anxiety or depression or something, you would get the vibes from this, and it like kind of starts to make you feel that way. So this was a really good book. I liked it a lot. And the story, not so much. I mean, the story was fine. It was about like a dad who disappeared, and where did his dad go, and his dad had all this money and wealth, and an old friend helps him find it. But it wasn't the story, it was more of the characters that I loved this book so much. So thank you, John Green. And I would pick this up. I'd buy it. I'd recommend it to a YA reader. So there you go. The next one is, the next 3, I'm going to just lump them all together, was a set of 3 series by Amie Kaufman. And who else is it by? Meagan Spooner and Amie Kaufman, yeah, and Meagan Spooner. And I loved Meagan Spooner's Hunt It last year. I think it was in my top 10. So no wonder I love these books too. She does really well at characterization, I think. And they were These Broken Stars, This Shattered World, and The Fractured Light. And the basis of these books were YA, like YA, I guess, sci-fi, because they were based in space. And I liked the whole idea of what the world the 2 authors created, I guess. Other than the fact that the books were like cutouts of each other, like girl meets boy, gets in a bunch of trouble, girl and boy, you know, like that's the ending. There was so much suspense though, so much adventure. The characters actually had like clash. So I really loved them. I would buy them. I'd recommend them to a YA reader. I'd put them on my bookshelf. They were really, really good. I was very impressed by them from what I remember. And I read those like, gosh, like 40, I don't know, 30 books ago. So if I remember them that well, I really liked them. Next one was told to me that it was one of her favorite books she had ever read. So I was kind of excited for it. And when I first started it, I couldn't get into it. And then I thought, oh man, this is one of your favorites. But it was To The Golden Firebird by Maureen Johnson. And when I actually sat down and read it, I gave it like a week break or something. I sat down and read it, and I read it straight through, and it was really good. It's just a coming of age story about 3 girls on the cusp. Sorry if you hear that. That is dogs. Like a cusp of everything's new and bright. But yeah, they mess up a lot, like teenagers should, and they do. So lay down, Tinker. Tinker, lay down. So it was very realistic, and not to say that everybody needs to be in trouble all the time when they're teenagers, but it was a lot more realistic story. I liked it. I wouldn't be surprised if I read a Maureen Johnson book again. If somebody recommended another one, I would definitely read it. It turned out to be a pretty good book this year so far. The next one I want to talk about was in March. There was like the middle grade March challenge. So I read Wonder for Diversity, I think, during that period. Because they had like a whole list of challenges. It was really cool of the YouTube community. But I read Wonder by R.J. Palacio because it is some of people's favorite books that I know. And I liked it. I really did like it. I got just as much out of the movie though. Like I could have watched the movie and been like, good. Maybe it's because it's a YA, but it read super quickly. It was written well. I'd recommend it for, or not YA, for middle grade. I'd recommend it for middle grade readers and even YA readers. But the next book I read, I also read another one, I think, in the diversity category, and it was called Inside Out and Back Again, Thanhha. And this book really got me excited about middle grade. Like, I would read more middle grade books because of it. It was a poetry book about a young girl's, like, it literally took me an hour to read. But it was a poetry book about a young girl's, like, I'm not, the word is an adventure. Her travels, and then living in America, coming from, I think it was Vietnam, like right after the war, or was Korea? I'm not sure. I don't remember exactly. All I remember is that it impressed me. The writing was done so well. I don't particularly love poetry by any means, but I would wholeheartedly recommend this to like a classroom, to teachers who teach middle grade levels. And I mean, if the teacher liked Wonder, I would recommend Inside Out and Back Again way over Wonder. Not that this wasn't a really good book. Like, I purchased it and put it on my shelf. My kids will read it. But I loved Inside Out and Back Again. Like, I think it got 5 stars, where Wonder would be like 3.8, almost 4 maybe. Something along those lines. The next one, I swear I have this book, and I can't seem to find it. It is The Alice Network by Kate Quinn. I think it was on Reese's book list is the reason I picked it up. And I love Reese Witherspoon, so I picked it up. And it is quite a hard read. It is based on the original, I guess, Alice Network of women during World War II and like kind of their job occupation going in enemy territories. But parts of it are really hard to read and really sad, and the situations that these particular women got put in. Not to say that they didn't do an epic job or anything. It was just parts of it were sad and hard to read, and I liked it. I did like it. I think I gave it a really high ranking on Goodreads. I don't know if I would now, because I don't know how much I like it now. Like, after 3 or 4 months have passed since I've read it. It was a really, really good book. I would recommend it to, like, select people who love historical fiction. But it wouldn't be, like, a universal recommendation to everyone. The next one is one of those universal recommendations to adults, and it is You Go Bernadette by Marie Simple. This one has been on my stack forever because it's got the cutest little stinking cover. It's a funny book. Okay, it's like, it is maybe a 3 out of 5, but it's a funny book. Like, I could recommend it to most people. It's about a woman who kind of lost herself during motherhood, and just and not just motherhood, just before that she had made like a wrong career move and then lost herself in motherhood and just kind of doesn't know who she is anymore. So it's about her and her daughter and her husband and just like kind of the challenges in life. And it's good. It's funny. I liked it. I'd recommend it. It's a well-rounded book. But yeah, there you go. Me and Mr. Darcy. Oh, I know I have this book. Oh, here it is. Me and Mr. Darcy by Alexandra Portier. I feel like I went and watched this afterwards or something. Was it a movie? Anyways, it's one of those classic stories where she's looking for Darcy and it turns out Darcy's not who she needs at all. So, I guess the woman is obsessed with Pride and Prejudice. I don't know if I'd ever read a Pride and Prejudice book, but it is my most read book, I think, of all time. But I like this one. It'll probably go on my shelf just because I like to keep that collection, but I wouldn't go out and recommend this one to people, I guess you would say. But it's one of those off of Darcy knockoff. It came out this year, and it was the Atomic City Girls by Janet Beard, I believe, and I did not like this. It was on a bunch, I think it was like a little bit overhyped for me, and it was like on a bunch of lists. I kept like seeing it, like, what should I read that's new out? I don't want to read something from my stack, and I want to get something from the library. I didn't like it. I did not like it. I love historical fiction, I love romance, but I did not like this. This is about girls working around the A-bomb, but at the same time there were guys' perspectives, so I was very confused why it was called Atomic City Girls. There was two girls' perspectives. The other girl was very boring to me. A lot of the characters, I really didn't care to hear their perspective. I think that's where the author went wrong for me, that if she would have kept it to like one person's perspective, maybe I would have liked the story. But in the end, I didn't like it. I didn't cope with it. There was too many characters I didn't like. I finished it, but I wouldn't buy it. I wouldn't recommend it. So yeah, it wasn't a good read. Anyways, the next one is Beartown by Fredrik Backman. He was like, not to say that Man Cold Over is my favorite book. It probably was, but it was just like the universal book I could give to everybody. And I have given it to everybody. And everybody I've given it to has loved it. He's just a very good writer. Like, I can give it to old people and young people. They love it. And Beartown is the same exact thing. I do not care about a hockey town in the middle of wherever he lives. I forgot where he lives. It's not America, but it is a good book. It's one of those books you get lost in. It's one of those books you like hate people passionately and you're very emotional about the characters afterwards and you want to talk to somebody about it. It is upsetting in a lot of ways, but it is so well done. Once again, I know it'll be in my top 10 list this year. I can't read the other ones in my pile, which you'll see in the July, so I can't read it. I picked up another one by him. I listened to one of his. He's just a phenomenal writer. Like, anything he writes, I will read. And I didn't even care about these people, but I absolutely loved it. Like, loved it. Read it. If there's one you should read, it's probably this one. Series, I read Throne of Glass and Crown of Midnight, and I'm in the middle of the other one. I love these so much more than I like her new series. I know her new series gets a lot of hype. Throne of Glass did too, I think, back in the day, but I just didn't get into it at the time. But, and she's still finishing off, I believe, the Throne of Glass series. So, I like it so much more than the story, than the, like, Crown of Thorns series, I guess you would say, of hers. I don't know. I find the character very, very interesting. I mean, I did drop off a little in second books, as you do in series sometimes, but I'm in the middle of the third, like, I'm going. I loved the first book so much more than the first book of this first series. And it's good. It's so good. Very dynamic characters, very adventurous, very good YA. It's very hyped up on here for a reason, I believe. It's really good. I'd recommend it. I'd buy it. I'd put it on my shelf. It's good. And it is fantasy all the way, just like her other book. Her other series that I've read is all fantasy too. And then, both of them, you had a lot of questions, so they end with very good suspense, I should say. The next two were Fallen Heir and Cracked Kingdom by Erin Watt, and I think this was on recommendation sometime when I first got into like the YouTube book world. I think it was on like a romance recommendation by somebody to read the Paper Princess series, and I read it, and yeah, it's easy to read. And then I saw these two in my library, and I was like, what? There's like a fourth and fifth book? I thought the series was done. And then these are actually like a spin-off, so I'm not sure whether they're tied to the first series, but they're really good. They are not in the same category almost as the first one, where the other one's like almost steamy erotica stuff for new adult, I would say, because it's pretty up there. But it is written about teens, and the other one's more like mental issues, these two are. And I like these characters better. I do like the brother better than the original brother's story, I guess. Well, actually, it was the female's perspective, but this one's the brother, one of the other brother's stories. Anyways, that didn't explain it very well. It's about it's about a home with these boys that just are kind of messed up mentally, have quite a few problems in their family, and their particular love interests and their love interest problems. So, yeah, if you're interested in that, delve in. It's definitely steamy though. Oh, and the last one I'm going to do is Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. I know I just did those other two, but this one is from the other series, and I just never, it says like on Goodreads, I started it last July, and I like didn't want to go back to it, and then I was like, no, I want to read it, because I want to read the new one that was coming out this May, which I did read, and I'll tell you about later, but I did finally read Court of Wings and Fury, and it was one of those epic war novels, where it's like in the middle of a series. I just had to get through it, I guess. And they're not my favorite parts, like the epic war. Like even in Aragon, like when you're waiting for the war, you're like, just come on, the war's coming, just do it, just do it. And that's what the whole book was about. Was the big war that was going to come on. To me, it was like a good ending for a series. I'll get into the other book, Starlight of Frost and Starlight, or whatever it is, in the next one. But to me, it's a good ending. So I tried to get through like all 20 of those books really, really fast. A lot of them I didn't like. I read a few pretty good books this year. Oh no, I forgot one. No, that's in the next pile. Never mind. I didn't forget it. The definitely big recommendation of the first, like I would say January through May, was Beartown. And then, yeah, I've got some good recommendations coming up from like June, July. So I'm just going to do a July wrap up. Look out for that. And I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.